I lost my drone in the Dolomite Mountains. How did it happen and what was the outcome? Watch this video and you'll see what mistakes I made and how you can avoid them.
Disoriented Motors.
It was June the 23rd, 2024, in the morning, a rainy day, the last of the 5 days spent in the Dolomites. The weather forecast showed that the weather would clear up and that it wouldn't be a day to waste in the hotel room. Around 11 a.m. I saw signs that the rain would stop, so I put a few batteries to charge for the drone. A little past noon I set off and the situation was exactly as I imagined. The mountain was wrapped in fog, just starting to clear, creating a spectacular view. I flew in 2 locations and then I arrived to the base of Tofana di Meso mountain in the Dibon area. The location was good, close to the mountain, and the weather was still good for flying, so I didn't waste much time. I connected the drone to the battery and waited the GPS to acquire the location. It didn't take too long and I heard the unmistakable sound announcing that the drone was ready to fly. I flew straight along the trees, then started gaining altitude, and only then I realized that the terrain wasn't as simple as it seemed from below. And since haste makes waste, I had already made my first mistake. I didn't do an inspection flight around my location. I reached the desired peak, rotated the drone for a panoramic shot, then started descending back to the landing point. The situation was relatively simple until I reached a fork in the path, at which point I had to make a quick decision. Since I hadn't studied the terrain beforehand, I didn't know which path to lead back to me. In this situation, I let the drone descend at the GPS arrow indicated. Since there were 2 valleys separated by a ridge, I descended into a different valley than the one I had climbed.
Return to home.
Experienced pilots already know what I'm about to say. Between me and the drone there was a hill slope that completely blocked both control signal and the video feed. And here we come to the third mistake. I knew I had tested the return to home function, but what I didn't know was that I hadn't set it to activate automatically in case of signal loss. By default, it was set to disarm the drone and let it fall. Before anything else, I should mention that FPV drones are flown entirely manually, and the autopilot, also called rescue mode, has many limitations compared to DJI drones. Once you lose the video signal, you try to activate the autopilot and then wait a few seconds. If the drone receives the command, it should immediately ascend 100 meters in the hope of regaining the video signal. This didn't happen. The next step in the recovery procedure is attempting to re-establish the radio connection. I grabbed the goggles, the radio, locked the car, and set off on foot. The problem was I took the path the drone had climbed, not the one it had descended. I walked up to the Angelo di Bona refuge, the highest terrestrial point where I could potentially regain the signal, but had no success. So I returned to the car. I got in the car, put on the video goggles and started replaying the last recorded images. I watched once, 5 times, 10 times. I compared the footage with the satellite map. I took a picture of the goggle screen with my phone to make comparisons easier. And then I found the first clue. I knew there was some ski slope I knew there was a green boundary marker I had passed, but it was impossible to see that on the map. Then I noticed another detail, a winding road. I managed to identify the switchback on the map and set the GPS to pedestrian mode to take me there. I had no guarantee the drone hadn't already left for China, but I had a chance to find it. So I set off, this time on the other road leading beyond the ridge. Same procedure, radio on, goggles on, monitoring the radio signal. The radio control never reconnected, nor did the video feed, but after wandering around for a while, I climbed a ski slope that looked very much like the one in the footage. The climb wasn't easy at all, but my determination matched the challenge. At one point I heard the drone's LOST model beeper. I stopped immediately and I identified the direction the sound was coming from. It was just a few meters from the switchback. It had fallen into some shrubs and the drone was in perfect condition, but the battery was completely drained. What do we learn from this? Don't rush. Get familiar with the terrain. If you're unsure of the direction, follow the GPS arrow and activate autopilot before it's too late. Check and test the rescue mode settings, especially for failsafe. Don't panic and don't give up. Try to locate the drone using all available methods: radio tracking, recorded footage, satellite maps. Every drone should have a LOST model beeper in case of loss. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit like, because more interesting videos are coming soon. All the best!